What's up, YouTube? We back again, another reaction. Airplay Beats, La and Chi. And today we back to the Fleetwood Mac classic albums video for Rumours. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
You never loved me, no. And don't say that she's pretty. And did you say that she loved you?
And listen to this.
When the song was recorded, it was beautiful, but it was very long. And I am really, really touchy about shortening my songs, because then you're going to take out a verse or you're going to take out a chapter out of my book, and then it's not going to make sense, and I'm not going to be happy. So they did try to cut it down, and they really couldn't cut it down enough to make it work.
She loves her lyrics. They had to leave it all in there. She loves her lyrics. Don't mess around with her stuff. It's all true.
Time cast a spell on you, but you won't forget me. When I know
It's great on the song that Christine would play like a nice simple pad and leave it open, allowing Lindsay more room to do some nice guitar notes, and it's really well done.
will follow you down till the sound of my voice will
There's some
haunt
vocals to
you.
this.
Give me just a chance, you'll never get away from the sound of the woman that loved you. Was I such a fool? I followed you down to
Great song, right?
Yeah, do you have a recollection of when we had to break it to Stevie that we weren't going to be able to include that song on the album? I don't think she was too happy.
I just went down to the record plant in Los Angeles. Maybe it wasn't the record plant, I don't know, wherever it was. I went down there and Mick took me outside in the parking lot and said, you know, Silver Springs is not going to go on the record. And another of your songs, I Don't Want to Know, is. So you have to do a vocal on that. And I'm really sorry, but it's just the way it is. It's just the way it's got to be, Steve.
I don't wanna know the reasons why I love you. Right on walking on down the line. I don't understand singing love, honey. I just want you to feel fine. I don't wanna know the reasons why I love you. Right on walking on down the line. I don't understand singing love, honey. I just want you to feel fine.
I happen to really like that song. So, and I love singing that song with Lindsay, because that was one of our Everly Brothers singing things that was really close and tight and really a lot of fun to sing. So, if it was going to be replaced with
Santa
anything,
Monica.
that was a good replacement.
Here.
Very few people had ever done an album that went a year or over. Maybe Stevie Wonder and Songs of the Key. I'm not sure if there were many others. So there wasn't really a precedent. So nobody warned us that the more you drag, and it should be obvious, right? Duh. But we didn't think about it. The more you drag a tape across a tape head, that's friction. You can actually hear the tape being drug across. That's wearing the oxide off. It's wearing the tape down, basically. And the first thing that goes, the high end, the high frequencies, for instance, the cymbals, sibilance on the voice, anything with high frequencies started to disappear. Well, unfortunately, it was a very subtle thing. It was almost like Chinese water torture, where you get just a little drop and within an hour it's like a brick hitting you, you know. It was like, here we were, and Lindsay especially and the rest of the band are looking at us like, well, where's the high end?
Well, in those days before digital, you know, analog tape will lose its high end if it's, you know, run over the heads repeatedly. And we had spent months and months, you know, working and reworking tunes, and the high end tends to go gradually, so you don't really notice it. One day we put up the safeties of the drum tracks, and they were so crisp and so clear compared to what we had been working on, that we realized that somehow we had to get that sound of the safeties over to all the work that had subsequently been put on, what we were calling our masters.
What we had done is made safeties of the drum tracks right after we recorded them. And even though they were second generation safeties, we still had fresher sounds on those safeties than we did on the actual masters. So what we had to do was take all the overdubs we'd done since, the vocals, the guitars, the bass, everything else that went on there, and sync those back in to the drum track without a sync track.
And again, in those days, there wasn't the device called SMPTE, which will lock up tape machines. So it had to be done by hand. And it took somebody with a VSO, which is a variable speed device, to be listening to the drum tracks of both machines through headphones, waiting to hear phasing, which would indicate that, you know, they were starting to drift, and manually keeping those two things in sync, which is really a task that I can't even imagine having worked, but apparently we were able to do that and get our drum sound back.
Ken started off doing this by manually syncing up, putting both tapes on the machines, wearing headphones, and listening to the snare and overheads. And he had them in mono, stereo, so that if it was in perfect time, the snare would line up right in the center, imaging-wise, in the headphones. But as soon as it started to drift, the two machines, it would start to pull apart, and you could hear it pulling from one side to the other. And that's when you had to manually use the VSO, the variable speed oscillator, which changes the speed of the machine, to manually keep the other machine running in the exact time as the master. And that was hard to do. That was about a 14-hour process. You know, I don't know if I can remember all the studios we recorded this at, but I remember recording some in Criteria in Florida or Miami, some in Los Angeles.
Stuff like that is why engineers started making $100,000.
Hell yeah.
For 2 songs and
Hell
3
yeah.
songs, and it was just, that's tough work.
It's a lot of work, and I can't imagine.
Nah, when the digital came in, that was nothing like this, but that was.
But even when we first started, we were still messing around with some analog, the SMPTE, like you were saying, and ADAT machines.
Yeah.
SMPTE, yeah, all of that, all on my MPC.
Short song, SMPTE. Yeah.
No,
But yeah, no, that's why the engineer gets paid.
Yeah,
why they do,
man,
like
that was-
$50,000 for 3 songs.
that might have been my favorite part of the whole video right there. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
that's crazy.
that part.
That's crazy. That's a lot of work.
Man, it just...
He said 14
They wore
hours.
them tapes out.
He said,
They
what,
kept
14
playing
hours?
them.
He said 14 hours of work, I think he said.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that was the whole album or
That
something.
might have just been one song.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure.
That's crazy.
You know, I don't know if I can remember all the studios we recorded this at, but I remember recording some in Criteria in Florida or Miami, some in Los Angeles, specifically Wally Hyder's. I would have to say we probably spent the most attention to the drum tracks and recording.
I thought they was in the band.
And in the end, we just ended
they
up
were.
using the drums, and we'd strip everything else off, including the bass, guitar, and everything. The only instruments played live together that I can remember were on the chain, and that would have been the bass, the drums, and the lead guitar were all played together. But everything else was an overdub done at a separate time. And most of that overdub work was done in Los Angeles.
Well, I remember that we did the end first, and we had John tack a bass onto the end, and it sounded so good that we thought that we had to put a song to it. It just sounded really cool.
Well, The Chain was an interesting song because they had the middle part of the chain where the solo
super
starts. where it
fast
goes
from the
dun,
album
dun,
version.
dun, 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 dun. They had from that part till the end of the song, and they didn't have a song. So Lindsay was very, he wanted to finish the song himself, so he didn't let me or anybody else really help him. And finally, it just wasn't getting written. So I had another song that I had written, out of the Buckingham Nicks era that went with it. Perfect. So I pretty much just gave them the song. And it fit.
Well, Stevie's words can be pretty obscure at best, sometimes, I didn't know what she was singing about, but, in her mind, those words make complete sense, and I often used to wonder what on earth she was talking about, But then you didn't
Steve used to
care
be outta
because
there.
the words just sounded so good.
They're talking to
each other. Let's rise.
Lindsay had that whole screaming solo.
That's fire.
That was done in Sausalito live, and we kept the whole thing. And then if you remember when screaming solo, that was done in Sausalito live, and we kept the whole thing. And then if you remember when
Stevie came up with the words at some point.
well, Lindsay came back one day and said, I got this great idea. We got to lose both verses, and we got to throw that away, which we actually threw the tape away, cut in brand new tape, and he said just the kick drum and that Sausalito and the Sausalito guitar, and it was boom. And I was going, what the heck?
Song, period.
The man had been thinking, you see.
I've been thinking, and it was a
Fall to the
Lindsay
Floor,
song,
boom.
Keep Me There, and it became a Fleetwood Mac joint publishing song because everybody put their input in, and the thing just went, 180 degrees.
Listen to the wind blow.
Actual fact, that's the most important album we ever made because it allowed this band, Fleetwood Mac, to continue for years and years and years after it. And I really feel if we hadn't made that album, it may have hit the ultimate brick wall and literally stopped.
It was a focus.
That's their coupe.
All the stuff that was going up and down, and we did some great music.
Say that again.
You can't imagine 5 more different people.
We've been saying it the whole time. Like, how did touring after? Like, without this
Had
album,
to,
it was
though.
just too much money involved.
They just had to suck it up. I'm
Yeah.
sure after a couple of years, everything kind of smoothed out.
I don't know. But the money
money-
talks.
the-
BS walks.
Right.
Like straight up. This album sold too many records. It was too good.
You got to go to work.
Look, we got to, and we can tour it every year.
going-
Every summer we can tour this.
Yeah, you got to go to work
every summer.
until you can't no more.
Right.
Until it got too
You
bad.
better go get that money.
Yeah.
Music.
You can't imagine 5 more different people than this particular 5, and I mean maybe that's part of the magic of it. There was some kind of glue gluing us together, and I think it's very simply just called chemistry.
To be in a big time band like Fleetwood Mac is a dream come true, with all the little nightmares along the way, but still, it's the best.
If you're any good at all, you know you can be better. And you try to keep grounded in your process, in your work. And the challenge of doing that amidst the madness of the said machinery, some people can do it and some can't. I'm not saying that I've always been able to do that, but I am saying that I've always tried to do that. And then eventually you can define yourself or a portion of yourself through the choices you've made.
I went back and on my own and just listened to Rumours, and I was blown away. I hadn't heard it in a while, and I really understood. I mean, I hate to say it, I understood why it was what it was, and it just had a continuity to it, totally. And I even went, God, I like those drum parts too. We've become naturally aware that it is 20 years since the making of this album, Rumours. It's a real trip, and we're going to go out on the road and we're going to make some more music together.
Wow.
And that is great.
Ooh, perfect.
I remember that.
timing. Hummed it right with it.
Boom, 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 boom. It sounded really fast live though.
You nailed that one.
Boom, 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 boom,
But
boom.
yeah, that was I enjoyed that. We haven't listened to the album, is what this let me know at all.
We gotta listen to it
Continuously.
all
Yeah.
together.
Mhm.
We went to. Yeah,
I
I gotta get
just
this.
did like the big hits.
Yeah, I gotta get this on vinyl.
But nah, we got to do the whole album though.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, they pretty much explained it like that is the reason why the album is what it was because what they were going through and just all the bands we listened to throughout time that break up right before or when they're about to get to their next coup de grace or their big album. You know what I'm saying? Like they break up. And they don't even know what they missed out on. Then they try to come back together years later when the money's low, and the comeback is never as good as when they were in that moment. So they actually fought through it, and it's their biggest album.
It is. Yeah, man. There's so much
Happens to all of them.
There's times where they're gelling and albums are good too.
Oh,
Like
we wouldn't know about them unless they
Right.
started off great.
Right.
But I'm talking about when they're
Talking
really
about
the bands who quit when they're in their
when they
bag.
reach that peak.
When they're in their bag, you're like, why would they stop now?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Kind of like when Jermaine left the J5. Like, why would he do that?
Yeah, and then they came back with Heartbreak Hotel and
They
all that
did it
without 'em.
all without him. Yeah.
But you let like it's just
he
a lot
tried
of bands
to
like,
come
it's
back.
A lot of bands like
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake left in sync at the height of the.
Yeah, they stuck through it, and
I don't know why I said Justin Timberlake and NSYNC.
yeah, don't compare them.
'Cause I don't even-
I'm gonna edit that out for sure. Don't
Right.
worry about that. But,
Right, but a lot of bands, you know what I mean.
yeah, but and the mixer, he hadn't heard it in years, put it on and said, "Damn, that was good." And my drum parts was
The drummer was funky.
excellent.
Yeah,
That's dope that they can come back. I wonder how long he hadn't heard it.
part of a. And the thing about it is, probably years because they performed it for
probably like-
years, and they performed it for years and took a year to record it, so they heard them songs over and over and over. You know how it is when you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even listen to the stuff we've done.
Yeah, I don't even put it on, but
But then when you do,
yeah,
you're like,
Dad, that's
wow.
some good stuff.
Yeah.
Ain't it? But yep, on to the next one, man. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, and we up out of here.